Sure, I get the pointing here. My name's James Brown. Twitter handle's JBCompVM. I've also blogged at jbcomp.com. What we're going to do today is there's a little bit of a panel. I was on the 3rd season of Virtual Design Master.
I'm Anthony Chow. I'm a software developer. I'm a Season 2 participant.
Tim Patterson. I was Season 2 participant and ended up miraculously as the winner.
It wasn't a miracle.
He was good.
Tweet at PC Professionals and blog at timsvirtualworld.com.
And my name is Josh Atwell. I was a judge for Seasons 1 and Seasons 2 and judged some of these fine gentlemen.
So with that being said, I'll kind of go through a little bit of what we'll talk about here today. The first question that basically I'll come out and ask is, what was your overall feeling of actually being a contestant or a judge on Virtual Design Master? Mine was very much of being intact and hardcore into what we were actually doing. It's almost a preparation step into the VCDX. So that was kind of my motivation for doing it, getting ready for it, and going on there. The next question let's just go on and we'll ask you the same question. What was your experience with VDM?
My experience with VDM is very good. I'm a software developer. I've never done design work. But I read a blog post by Melissa Palmer. He said, if you're going for VCDX, you should participate. So I said, wait, why not? Because there's no entry fee. It's not like I have to pay $100 to enter for the Virtual Design Master. Even though I don't have much design experience on the overall system, I do have software level design experience. So I may as well go ahead, and I have read a few books about how to become a VCDX, and I tried. I submitted one. I don't think I completed the whole design, but I tried my best to go as far as I can. The question was my experience with Virtual Design Master?
Correct.
And it was very good because this is where I sensed the feeling of community. Every people helping me out. When I say I'm discouraged, they say, hey, go for it. Don't give up, just go for it. And then one of the best results, I'm not sure if you're going to ask me the result, the best result for me with Virtual Design Master, I become an active blogger. And this is how I start sharing of what I have learned. And I think that is what got me to this VMworld. This is my first VMworld.
Go ahead, Tim.
All right. Well, the VDM experience, there's not much else out there like it. I had reached the end of the internet one day, saw a random post on Twitter saying sign up for VDM. So why not? Threw my hat into the ring. Ever since, it's had quite an impact on both myself, my work life, and the community for a good part of it. I mean, myself, it taught me to believe in myself a little bit. It takes you out of your comfort zone on purpose. The challenges are evil. That
was a plug.
They really put you into some situations where the constraints are very tight, and it forces you to think outside the box, to really reach out, find help in the community, find help amongst yourself, and put out a design in usually a week or less. So it's death by fire. I mean, you give it everything you got every time. So it's really made a huge impact on my work life. It's taught me the design process from start to finish, and I had the unique experience of serving on the judging side this year as well, and it's really neat to see how a competitor's design, it might be a little soft in the beginning, but as they iterate through each challenge, it just gets better and better.
Well, I know Timothy's talking about this outside the design piece. I believe it was Challenge 2 that I was actually going to go with vCloud Air, and Timothy was out on Twitter going, nah, you want to go with AWS. Just try it. You'll like it. Yeah,
Yeah,
within a week, I became pretty good at it.
You know, I was totally willing to help you out with that design until I was asked to be a surprise judge. And I'm like, there's a little conflict of interest going on here. So, sorry, I didn't mean to tell you RTFM, but hey, it's the best I could do under the circumstances.
Like I said, I learned a lot. So, and then we got Josh Atwell. He's been, I think, judged for 2 years. 2 years, so the first season and second. I'm sure you got overwhelmed on the third season, so tell us a little bit about how the judging works and what it's actually done for you in the community.
Sure. One of the fun things is more often than not, I was always surprised by what the challengers were going to get, just as much as you guys were. And I really appreciated that because in my mind, and from a judging perspective, in my mind, I'm kind of thinking about how I would implement and what my design would look like and what things that I would be considering. And then I would take that and just forget about it because, there needed to be this unbiased, perspective. Like, so there was a lot in the beginning, a lot of focus from me on the judging perspective of making sure that you were addressing core things. Like you were legitimately addressing the requirements, right? That's kind of a big deal, right? And competitors who were not addressing them well, they would receive demerit because of that or not move on. But as the design continued and you would move on through the competition, it became much more of less, all right, you've checked most of the boxes. What does this design do as a holistic view to solving the problem? Now, were you clever? Were you able to understand the requirements in a way that kept you from making design decisions that would have been more complicated had you interpreted it differently? And getting a good feel for the personality of each of the contestants in their design. And when you're reviewing a dozen designs and then 6 bigger designs, you really start to get a feel for the competitors. And then from the perspective of like results from it, frankly, I've just loved to watch the growth of all the competitors, like you guys, being much larger, contributors to the community, demonstrating your growth from a technical perspective and from, a community and professional perspective. When Angelo and Eric first pitched the idea of Virtual Design Master to me, I immediately believed that they had struck on something that was going to be really, really special. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with upcoming seasons because, as you mentioned, Melissa's kind of she can really step up the heat.
Evil.
Like I'm talking ghost pepper spice. It's pretty. I'm glad I'm not a contestant.
It's funny. I said the same thing for this season. I was glad I was not a contestant.
I would like to ask a question of you guys.
Go right ahead.
If you had the opportunity to define a specific technology requirement, just your own evil injection into the requirements for the next season's competition, what would you like to see people have to implement or to demonstrate into their designs?
This one I have right away. DevOps, CI/CD. It's becoming more and more apparent as time goes on that the days of a point-and-click administrator are gone. You need to know full automation, and you also have to have a developer mindset. Bridge those in the middle to really well round out your skill set, and you'll be safe for many years to come.
That, I think, has a lot of opportunity.
Well, I got kind of a little bit of a different one. Let's actually go a little bit towards the VCDX and make it so the hypervisor is thrown out of the picture. It needs to be able to be deployed on, say, VMware or KVM or Citrix. Kind of just a holistic view of the whole piece. Kind of break out away. DevOps was great. I can see that coming, a big piece to it. But I'm thinking VCDX, being that's kind of what we're preparing for. So
I don't have much to answer this question because I'm not a design person. But I do have a comment about evil. Even though we label that evil, and this is an inside joke that we always put on Twitter as whatever Melissa put in, we call it live evil. But I think in a realistic way, when we deal with customer, is way much evil than what Melissa can tell if their requirement. Hey, I want this machine to be cheap, to be fast performance. And sometimes those things go together. And being a contestant, I think we should be able, one of the characteristics is that we'll be able to handle whatever evil comes our way. And this is one of the true essence of being a good designer.
I think that is a fantastic point. Because when you look at the challenges and the way things are structured and laid out, if you watched Virtual Design Master, especially in the first 2 seasons, and I admit I didn't keep up with all of the 3rd season, but if you would look at those and think it's like I have seen something that crazy before. It may not be a base on the moon, but it is saying that you have to use hardware that's 10 years old. Like, these things legitimately happen. And from a design perspective, it's really easy especially from a vendor perspective, to just pretend like everything's going to be greenfield and that you get to start from fresh. But I think the reality of the world is that the requirements that are presented to you as an architect is not necessarily ideal in the way you want things to be.
Yeah, it definitely forces you to adapt to the circumstances, and that's a key skill in the workplace.
Yeah, requirements, constraints, all those fun words we like to throw around as architects/engineers. So, and I know Josh was talking about it. Eric Wright and Angelo, I can't pronounce his last name. Luciani, thank you, are the main kind of people, and then we also have Melissa, and I'm not for sure Melissa's last name.
Palmer.
Wow, I'm horrible.
It's okay.
But I know Eric and Angelo are basically on flights. I'm sure Melissa may be watching. We don't know for sure. But
Hi.
If you are, hi. So those are the main people. The website out there, virtualdesignmaster.com. You can kind of take a look at season 3. I think they've got most of those out there, and also the designs and pieces like that. I guess the next piece I've got is all 3 of us, except for Josh, have actually gone through this. Truly, what has it done to change your life besides for community? Has it made you a better person, a better designer? Has it pushed you to do things that are a little bit out of your scope of comfort?
Do you make better sandwiches now?
Make better sandwiches? I don't know. Program my Amazon Echo to make me a sandwich from Jimmy John's. I mean, hey.
Pseudo make me a sandwich.
Exactly. There's actually a GitHub project for that. No, Virtual Design Master, I mean, it teaches you to believe in yourself as well as the community. It really does make an impact, no matter what your outcome is, whether you finish in the first round or the last round. It's definitely a life-changing experience in that it gives you the confidence to say, hey, I can do this. You get the feedback from judges. Sometimes they can beat up on you pretty hard, but you know what? It's all in a constructive manner, and you can turn every single one of those comments into a learning experience, and you just grow from it.
So from a judge perspective, I will say that every one of us, and I believe the attendees and your fellow competitors, want you to succeed, right? Everybody wants you to succeed. And I'll speak to how we challenge. I think it was season 2. We had a situation where somebody says, "I'm deploying all of this on rack mount servers," right? And the judges jump on them like, "Well, why are you not using blade systems? Blade systems would be more compressed. You have these other opportunities, would be lower power consumption. Why did you not choose blade?" Well, that's what I did. But we made them defend that. The very next competitor says, "Well, I use blade systems." And we're like, "Why did you use blade systems? If something fails there, you have a different fault domain. You have different things that you have to contend with." So making sure the challenge wasn't necessarily to say that you were doing something wrong. It was, do you understand why you made that choice?
And that's very good. I've actually talked to some of the VCDXs that have been in the blogger areas and pieces like that. And I know Tim's sitting over there, and I'm waving at him because he was kind of one of the ones sitting there. But he kind of basically said is make sure you can defend every decision that you make. Just like, why didn't I use DRS? Why didn't I use vMotion? Those pieces you just need to know.
Yeah, I seem to remember dinging you for using RDS on AWS with cross-region replication in Microsoft SQL Server, something that doesn't exist today.
My fault.
But with that said, it was totally meant to get you to get in the practice of double-checking all of your assumptions. I mean, they're called assumptions for a reason. You assumed. But it's just a mindset.
That it is.
For me, one good thing is you can see English is not my first language, but after Virtual Design Master, I have different speaking engagements. I'm willing to come up here and speak, and then to present and to share with others what I know. So I overcome one of my in a way is a deficit, my language barrier, because I'm like a type 2 hypervisor. Even if you ask me a question, I have the answer, I have to translate to English because I think in Chinese. So this is one of the deficits I have, but I overcome that, and you look at me now, I'm sitting here and talking to you.
Well, I guess I'll even explain mine. I actually started watching during season 2. I actually watched Timothy and Josh Atwell kind of going back and forth with this. So it was very fun. At that time, I was actually VCP certified in, I believe, 5. So looking at that and watching you guys sit here actually pushed me to the next level. So you guys, just watching what you guys are doing, your designs, even the judging coming back actually made me go for my next piece, which was my VCAP DCD, which I've done past. Now, I kind of came to that same roadblock again. So I decided, okay, now I'm going to actually try and compete. So I went in and I competed. I did very well, all but the last round. There was a pretty good set of competitors this year, so I am not at all disappointed on where I actually ended up. But this has actually pushed me to go to the next level. I'm hoping by the first of this year to actually submit my VCDX and hopefully go and defend it.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. The inspiration factor, encouragement, encouraging others. I've never heard somebody compare themselves to a Type 2 hypervisor before, but you bring up a good point. In this past season of Virtual Design Master, we had quite a few competitors that were definitely in different time zones. And kudos to those guys. I mean, they were up all hours of the night, not only working on their designs, but then joining in for the live defense. And how you operate on that little sleep and can still produce those quality designs, that's impressive.
So, as a judge, I want to ask a question, if I may. One of the things that when judging, I would note that when I mentioned personalities, the contestants like to be cheeky. They like to put their little jokes in there, and that is perfectly fine. I'm a fan. So, what I want to ask is, what is the cheekiest, silliest, funniest thing that you kind of injected into a design that may or may not have gotten a comment or attention? That way people can go back and try to find these things.
Yeah, so for me, it was in the final challenge of Season 2. We had to deploy an entire cloud on a single bare metal host. And in my design, the intro says, I was the unfortunate guy that drew the shortest straw that had to implement this thing. It was a nightmare. But it was a learning experience. I figured something out that was very difficult. Apparently, I'm one of the few that learned how to change a single ESXi host using a VDS with only one physical NIC. Not as easy as it sounds.
No, it's not.
I don't have to comment on this one.
No.
That's okay, Anthony.
That in and of itself is actually funny.
Yeah, I
really is.
never get to the next round, so I don't have the opportunity to inject anything funny.
I don't have much, but I remember Brian commenting about one thing, and I believe it was an actual risk. And the risk came out as he goes, in Season 2 and Season 3, no one ever thought about this, but the risk of alien attack. That was the one thing that he goes, I can't believe anybody else didn't think about it.
Well, I mean, after zombies and evacuating the planet, I mean, I guess that's reasonable.
So is tinfoil a requirement?
Always. Or mesh or anything else like that. Now, just a little bit more on the program. We actually started this year, kind of the first full week of July. It went actually 5 weeks long. So as you can figure that, the contestants get very overwhelmed and overtired within those times. The biggest thing about it is using the community, Twitter, even doing blogs or pieces like that. If you get into it next year, decide you want to actually throw your hat into the ring, reach out, please. That's what this is about. Virtual Design Master is about community, building it, but also getting you ready for that next step of the VCDX.
Yeah, not only is it about community and learning, also you make some really good friends through the program. I know he's probably on a plane right now, but had breakfast with Sean Massey this morning, one of my fellow competitors. And it's great to build that professional and personal network.
I'm just glad nobody ever got angry with me.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, somebody's saying like, you.
Well, see, the three people that were in the final round this year are basically all overseas, like Timothy was saying. So they were doing a back and forth, and I'm trying to remember his name, but I know he said he went, okay, I went straight from work to home. I basically put a mat down on the floor as I was working on the design. I took a 15-minute nap break and then went actually back to the design again. So most of these guys are going to their full 8-hour-a-day jobs, then also trying to do the design and sleep at the same time. It's a pretty emotional time of trying to get stuff done. And I'm sure Timothy remembers that I believe it was actually the last challenge that I got taken out of is my design at the last minute. For some reason, something clicked in my head and went, this isn't right. I can't do it this way. Something's there that I'm not meeting, so I scrapped it all pretty badly. So I had to actually rewrite that within a day, which is not a fun task, but can be done.
So why would you do this to yourselves? What is we've talked about the
Dedication.
Yeah, but we talked about the professional, the confidence. There's prizes involved, right?
There are definitely prizes involved.
What did you win?
I won a sponsorship by Renee Van Den Bedem, VCDX 133, to pursue my VCDX. And that has proven invaluable up to this point. I know I still have yet to submit. I have had a lot of change going on in my life as well. Welcomed my third daughter into my family.
Boom, nice.
Yes.
Bought a bigger house, came along with that. It's funny living with 3 girls, 1 bathroom. It doesn't work well.
It's insufficient.
Oh, trust me, I got 4 girls.
That sounds like a design condition that needs to be rectified.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, why do this to yourself? I'm the type of person that always loves a new challenge. I'm always looking for the next biggest and best thing. I never want to be that IT professional that falls behind, becomes irrelevant. And I kind of touched on it earlier. I see DevOps as kind of the next big movement. And unfortunately, a lot of our silos are starting to disappear. You look at things like vVols coming out, NSX. You have policy-based management now. No longer do we need teams to sit there and manage these architectures and modern infrastructure. And I don't want to see my career evaporate.
Yeah, I'll second that. I kind of see it the same way. As it's a way to keep me within the community, keeping up with the community, but also the ability to push myself. VCDX is the biggest piece I keep on going back to, just because that's kind of where that step is in my life. That's that push that I keep on needing, because sometimes you come across the roadblocks. Like Timothy said, he's got 3 girls in the house now, which is never a good thing. But
that's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. But we got to keep pushing ourselves. We got to keep learning new things, DevOps, coming out with the new containers of the vSphere. I mean, it's pieces like that. We got to keep on the bleeding edge as much as possible. If we fall behind, it's going to be harder for us to catch up in the long run. So it's just kind of that push as we keep going.
For me, if you notice, I never make it to the second round, but I can tell you I win big. I did not win as much as they do, but looking at for myself, I win a lot of things. I start blogging. Actually, if without participating in Virtual Design Master, I would not be able to have a chance to come to VMworld this year. This is my first VMworld, and this is all. For me, I have a long story. If you give me 2 days, I can tell you all about what happened to me.
Hey, never give up.
Yes, I don't give up, because I look at it as, even though I get disqualified, I'm not sure disqualified is the right word. I didn't make it into the second round, but I learned a lot and I win big. This is totally changed my life. So wherever you are at, you look at, I'm a software developer. I don't have design experience. I still participate and I win. So do it next year.
Well, I know that I've already reached out to both Eric and Angelo and said, all right, I want to help next season. Now, Timothy, what did you actually put on the table this season? You actually put some skin into the game to actually give a little bit of a prize out. What did you do?
Yeah, that was before I knew I was going to be helping out with judging as well, but I donated a Synology device. I know that when I was going through Season 2, it was invaluable to use my home lab equipment to be able to quickly try scenarios and fail quickly. I think it will really help Steven in his VCDX journey.
Yeah, we keep on giving back, and Josh over there, I think he needs to kind of tell everybody what he won this year at VMworld.
Oh, what I want? Oh, thanks. I was the proud recipient of the VMug Partnership Award. So that was very exciting, and thanks, guys.
That's just telling Josh has
Very well
been
deserved.
very active in this community and very well known. That's a great honor to have.
Yes, it is. I think Frank Denneman told me last night. He goes, "Welcome to the club." There's only about four or five people that have received that award so far. So that's pretty exciting. And there was another one. It was Joe. Who I forgot. He also won for international. So
That's great.
I think we got one more question.
One more question?
One more question.
I don't know if I got another question. You got one?
No.
Funny one?
You want a funny question?
Sure.
Had you ever considered doing your design in crayon?
You mean you don't?
Yeah, I'm kidding. So
I think I did.
One thing I am curious about in the competition, you are given 60 seconds to defend your design each week. Tell me how that feels.
There's nothing like being on the hot seat, but
And you need to answer in 60 seconds.
oh man,
Yeah, we better hurry
well,
up.
in preparation for that, I always chose what I thought to be the weakest point of my design and forced myself to come up with a really quick 2-sentence blurb on why I did what I did, and I think that helps develop your skills.
All right,
as well.
time's up.
Wow.
And
I
if you
feel-
watch the show, that is exactly what Angelo
Yes.
does.
I don't have that pressure because I know I'm not going to win. So I just whatever guy asks me, I genuinely answer whatever I know.
And that's a good way. I know I got on the hot seat, especially with Timothy a couple times, of questions of, yeah, there was a couple pieces I missed, but in all honesty, they made me think about it and go, okay, why did I truly make that decision? And it's a split second because you're going to be doing the same thing when you're sitting in front of the customer. With that C name in there, they're going to say, all right, why did you make this decision? And you got to fire back just as soon as possible because they're going to be doing the same thing to you.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think we're good here. So we'll say goodbye, guys.
All right.
All
Thanks
right,
for putting this
thanks a
together,
lot.
James.
Check out virtualdesignmaster.com.
Yeah, thank you, guys.